guys, it's Little Bit and my husband Andrew or Newfie or whatever you want to be called.
We'll work on that. Um, so what you're looking at right now is the player input card for the simulation that I've programmed.
It's the team card I've been telling you guys about.
And so I've protected a lot of the cells, so you can't accidentally put the wrong thing in. So basically, I'm going to walk through it and explain what each one of these things do and how it's considered within the program and try to keep it as simple as possible. There's a lot running in the background that's doing some thermodynamic balances and some comparison of the actual route. And
basically a lot of engineering that I don't understand, and I don't think any of y'all do either.
But my goal was to try to create a simulation that, as y'all produce your results, you can compare it to the 2016 Iditarod and see how your team would do against the real champions. So I'm going to walk through this. As you insert the names of your team, so I'm going to type in Tilly, all right, it will give you an allowance. So this allowance is how many points you can spend within this program. Over here is how many points you've actually used thus far. You just can never go above what you've been allowed. So as you add more to your team, you'll have more allowance to spend in the training of your dog, the different stats that are within this game. So I'm going to build a quick team of about 4 people. Reba, Tilly, Angel, and Nigel. All right, the next thing is...
I like Nigel.
You like Nigel?
I like Nigel.
I pulled that one out. The next thing you need to give me is your breed.
Now, if your breed is not one of the ones we have already done breed bonuses and things for, don't panic. We just haven't gotten there yet.
My goal is to make this as something that we use year after year after year. So as I get new breeds or new mixes, or because I know some of us run Heinz 57s and things like that, just give me the majority of what your breeds are, and we will build it into the database. So in the future, people can just hit a drop box, pick that breed, and just keep on going. But for now, type in the breed that you're going to use.
Now, I will say I am doing, a kind of a breed ban. Most toy dogs that are generally considered too small to pull a sled, are banned from the races. The only exception are Vanilla's Shelties, because Vanilla has so many Shelties, and I know she ran a Sheltie team last year. If you want us to make an exception, we will. However, it has to be possible for your team to pull a sled.
I mean, and y'all could run it in this program and see if it could, because that's the beauty of this program. Once I program the breed restriction in, it will tell me if that team could actually pull your sleigh. At some point, if you lose enough dogs and they can't pull the sleigh anymore, the program will tell me, because you've lost the ability to do it. So whenever someone programs Shelties or smaller breed dogs, down here it says the average speed and the team strength, but it may not say what it is because it's not within my breed database yet. Once I program that breed in, then it will reflect if that breed can actually accomplish it. I'm going to use breeds that are already in the database right now, though, so that way you can see it work. If you use a breed that we already have in the database, you'll also will see it work as well in these final results here. But if it's not in the database, you'll get this not applicable errors and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to use Huskies. Am I spelling that right, honey?
I'm assuming so.
I'm an engineer, so I can't spell.
Reba and Tilly and Angel are all honorary Huskies for this experiment.
Okay. The next cell that you have to give me is the intended weight that you were training your dog to. So if you look up your breed, you can find an average weight. You can either go above or under. It's up to you.
But it needs to be a realistic weight for your breed, for your dog.
And the reason this is here is the weight influences the dog's endurance. The weight also, if a dog becomes injured in the path and has to go on the sleigh, or you're resting a dog on the sleigh, this simulation will actually incorporate that into the sleigh's weight. All right, so I'm just going to use a generic 44 pounds across the board on this one. Whoops, 4 pounds. That's a really light husky.
Yeah, no, I don't think his feet would touch the ground. He'd just paddle.
All right, and now the hard part, the tough part, and that's the player inputs.
Guys, there is no wrong way to do your player inputs.
Think of it as a means that you actually are focusing your training on for these individual dogs. Some dogs are built for speed, some dogs are built for strength. Look at your picture of your dog and have fun with it. And this, to me, this was the fun part, was trying to match these stats to pictures of dogs.
Amy, you're really going to like this because I know you've been working with your Huskies and you're going to have so much fun filling this out.
Now, there's basically two categories of stats. One category focuses on the dog's ability to pull. The other category focuses on the dog's personality and who the dog is. I added that one for kind of a fun thing. So that one category that focuses more on how the dog will perform in the race is the speed, the strength, and the endurance. For speed, strength, and endurance, you can give that dog anything between a 0 and a 15, and that's what's counting towards your allowance of points that you're giving away. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend giving him a 0. A dog with a speed of 0 basically is not moving, but
that dog is dead.
But in theory, because it's based off a program, you can. So I'm going to give 12 for speed across the board.
And you'll notice that in the used column, as he's typing in these numbers, you'll see how many points you've already used up.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on that. Don't go above the 180. You can go under. I don't know why you would.
Now, if you have a full team, I think it's like 270.
Yeah, as you add more people to your team, you'll see that it increases. So let me add Randy in here.
So then it went to 225.
Now I'm going to take Randy off. Sorry, Randy. Okay, next is strength. Strength, all right, speed's obvious. Speed is how fast the dog can run. It does not mean the dog's endurance. So if I have a speed of the 15 clocked out, that's the fastest that dog can run based on the breed programming. Strength is the dog's ability to pull in pound force. Not saying that 15 means they can pull 15 pounds. 15 means that's the max on that dog's ability. Now, in the future, I plan on adding, if you want to rerun dogs, EXP and building on this and things like that. But right now, 15 is your max. So, for example, I'm going to say Tilly's a tank and she can pull 15. But I'm going to say Reba's not. She can only pull 10. And then the other two, I'm going to give 12. And you'll see that I've used 97 of my allowance of my 180. Mm-hmm. Endurance is...
It's kind of like your dog's health.
And it's a double-edged sword. The higher the endurance, the more the dog is going to naturally burn when you're resting, but the further it can go. The lower the endurance, the less he'll burn because he's not built for it.
He's talking about burning calories.
Yeah, all my energy calculations are based on what's called kilocalories or calories with a capital C. So you program your endurance based off of that. So let's say Tilly, being that she's strong, she doesn't have as much endurance and numbers that I'm picking. Reba, she went weaker, so we're going to give her more endurance, and the other two, I'm going to kind of give those off.
Yeah.
So those are the three stats that build on your team's speed, on their ability to pull, and how long they can pull. These next ones slightly influence these three stats, but not by a whole lot. They're meant for the challenges.
So, you know how every day something could happen. Like, every stretch I calculate the possibility of some disaster happening. Well, based on your dog's intelligence, focus, dexterity, and luck, you may get out of those situations. So say you get stuck in a blizzard. If your dogs are smart enough, they may still be able to navigate. It just depends.
Yeah, there's an entire table of different challenges and what stat your combined team or the individual dog has to have in order to succeed through that challenge. So intelligence focuses mostly on challenges that the individual dogs are capable of doing. Dog gets loose, dog finds its way back home. Sled team gets lost, dog finds its way back onto another trail that had been trampled on. Things like that. Focus actually will help on the restricted conditions. So if you are in a condition that is difficult for the dog to get through, or in the nighttime travel, focus will actually keep your challenge factor down a little bit. Dexterity is the likelihood that the dog will survive a physical assault. Say the sleigh slipped down a hill, say they got tangled up in their harnesses, things like that. The dog's physical dexterity will help them through that. And then my favorite stat, luck. Luck is one of the more complicated parts of this entire simulation. It's a double-edged sword in a sense. Basically, whenever an accident is generated, the luck will shift it down on the ladder. So if you picture the challenge chart, it's 120 different possible things, with the very lowest numbers being not such a big deal, with the higher numbers being really big deal. With a higher luck, you're less likely to be in that zone of the really hard challenges. Now, the problem with these 4 stats is when you use them in here, you're sacrificing points that you could have used for speed, strength, and endurance. So, is it worth it? We'll find out from this race. The highest stat that you can give on intelligence, focus, dexterity, or luck is 3. The lowest you can give is 0. And you can give whatever you want on these. These ones can be 0. It really doesn't matter. And you have a chance of getting through a lot of those challenges without those components. But they're there for that sake. So I'm going to go ahead and program those in. If you're not going to program one, make sure to give it a 0. All right, 182. I went over. I'm going to drop this deck down to 1 and put 0 on the rest of them. Okay. So that generates all of those. Now, like I said, depending on the breed, programming, and things like that, it will generate these average speeds and your team strength based off of those numbers up there. But I either have my Husky typed in wrong or a little detail there, so it's not giving me those spreads right now. And most of y'all, probably with y'all's different breeds, won't get anything down here. So just because these say NA, don't panic now. Down the road, when you start receiving your status cards, you'll get to see this number and how that number is influenced. But the main thing is just getting this information up here filled out. Another one that we've added that I need you to pick is the food that you intend to feed your dog at each stop. So, for example, if you're just going to carry a dry kibble that you're going to put hot water with, give me the name and the brand of the dry kibble. So, for example, if you're running Origin, it will look it up in my food chart. If you give me, just like the breed, if you give me a food that I don't have on it, that's fine. I'll look it up. I'll get the kilocalories per serving, and I'll add it to my lookup. If you're going to feed meat, slop, whatever, just give me that in the detail. That's what you're going to feed, and I can also pull the kilocalories for those.
We kind of got to the point with the food where we were like, you know what, we have no idea what these guys want to feed their dogs. You guys get to do that research.
Yeah, just let me know what you want to feed them, and then I'll put I'll look up the kilocalorie, and like I said, it'll go into my spreadsheet, and then future people can just hit the drop box and pick that food, or they can add more food.
I'm still here. I'm just doing laundry. Sorry, guys.
And then last but not least, one of the other big factors determining if your dogs can pull the sleigh is who have you hired to be a musher wait.
Which is you in this case.
Now, if you're running multiple teams, just pick a family member, or I don't care, and just say, you're going to be my musher. And
How much do you weigh?
How much do you weigh? Nobody else is going to see this part of the spreadsheet but Caitlin and myself. So if there's anybody who feels uncomfortable about it, feel safe. It's not leaving our hands. The only reason is it gives you that idea that this is your team pulling you through the Iditarod challenge. And it literally will calculate in the end what is the force required to pull this.
You plus the sled.
Plus the sleigh. And to me, as an engineering nerd, that is just a cool factor. And in the end, you'll see when you start getting your status cards what your team is capable of pulling versus what's required. And like I said, once your team can't pull your sleigh anymore,
we will let you know.
We'll let you know. More or less, you're done. You have to drop because they just can't do it anymore. So that's pretty much it. I know some of y'all aren't going to run all 16 dogs. I know some of y'all are going to run as many. My goal was to create a simulation that's very, very, very similar to what you would get out of the results for Iditarod.
But we also wanted to make it fun, and we wanted to make it, some things that aren't possible in real life possible.
Yeah, you might get attacked by a bear. Good luck.
That is entirely possible in Alaska.
Well, that's on the simulator. It's a 1 in 120 chance, but in real life, it's a lot less than that. Now, I don't know. At this point, I was going to talk about a couple other things that you might see in the future, but from this point on, this is what I need, so that way we can make your team cards, we can give you your team stats, and you can see how your team will behave. After I send those cards, or Caitlin sends those cards back out.
It's little bit.
Little bit. Sorry. After Little Bit sends those cards out about what your team will perform like, if you want to change your stats, just let us know, and we'll run them back through the simulation.
All of these cards are due to me by the 14th.
Yeah, and then that way we can run a couple of tests, because I'd like to run a couple of fake simulations in my own time just to make sure the system's running fine. We did a fake race today. It turned out really well.
After we fixed everything.
Yeah, I had a couple of really bad glitches. So at this point, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that you'll receive at the end of every run. So when you are finished with a run, you'll receive a card that looks like this. And that card will tell you how your team is doing. And the big stat to watch is endurance. Once a dog has no endurance, it drops from the race.
You're also going to want to watch their status conditions.
Yeah, you'll see where it says OK right here. That will tell you if the dog is hurt, diarrhea, so on and so forth. And you can make your decisions on treatment and things like that. And so you also will see down here, like I said, your team's endurance, their overall endurance. This is their natural burn, just being a dog per day, per hour, per mile. So it is an interesting number there. And, of course, the average team speed. That's the best a team can do in the perfect condition. The other thing that y'all will receive is the result card. The result card will tell everybody the location of everyone else. So what mile marker they're at, what position they're at as far as running goes, their team's overall average speed during that 24-hour stretch, and you can kind of keep track of where everybody is on the race. So this stat bar you're looking at right now, I have 10 teams, and you can see what marker they're at, and then on this graph here, you can see who's in the lead right now. So short of the mile marker to 200, you've got this little dash thingy is telling me that they're in the lead. So that's team number 7. So that's a couple of little things. Then I also have who's in the lead and also who's currently in the last. The person who finishes last, in the true spirit of Iditarod, you will get to, in a sense, blow out the lantern, and we will finish this race.
I will attempt to hex some trophies and an Arctic flame for the people who come in first and last. We'll just have to see. If you get disqualified, it does not count as coming in last. But Anyway, when it comes to more of the race rules and the race specifics, I'll have to write that up tomorrow. I just wanted to get this information out to you guys tonight so you could start thinking about it. And there's going to be some more specifics. There's going to be some more rules, and I'll get to all that when I have time to type this up. Right now, I'm having a laundry marathon.
And when y'all see this team card, you'll want to look at all these tabs because they're pretty neat in what they are. Race map shows you the Iditarod tracks. I imagine nearly everybody who's in this group has looked at this before, but I have it in here again. These are the numbers that I'm using for the 2016. You can also look at the 2016 results online. The other one is the weather chart. The weather chart actually is telling you the weather conditions at every single mile of the race, all 950 odd miles. With number one being regular weather conditions. Anything lower than one is absolutely beautiful day. Anything greater than one, you start struggling with. 3 is pretty much the worst.
Blizzard conditions.
Yeah, you don't.
Your team's probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, so -3 means you actually have the weather working with you in conditions where the wind's behind you, things like that. But a +3, you're in bad shape. So every time we're on send out the notification to have
send out
decisions,
a weather forecast.
We'll send out this weather forecast so you can see about where you are in the mile marker. Say you're at mile 500, you're probably going to try to do 100 miles that day. You can kind of see what the weather's going to be like, and that'll help you decide when you want to rest and when you want to pace, when you want to push yourself, little details like that, so you can be prepared. Or you may just decide to want to wait where you're at, let the weather blow over, and go on the next day. Because this weather is a forecast for 24 hours. So if you happen to be this poor sap right here who's about to hit a weather condition of 2.7, you may
want to just go to ground and hang out for a while.
Yeah, because this condition builds on top of the terrain. So if you actually look at the map for Iditarod, I have simulated the conditions of the terrain. So say this is when they're getting on that thin ice, this is definitely not the place you want to make an action on. So that's my input from what I've tried to create in this simulation. And hopefully with Excel running it now, it will be less math intense and results can come out as soon as we
Little
receive
Bit
them.
won't get exhausted halfway through and go, forget this.
So, and if y'all have any questions about the Excel or simulation, let me know and I'll work on it.
Or if you guys have any questions about anything, post it on the thread, and Andrew or I will get back to you as soon as humanly possible. Andrew has a paper for his master's that has to be done by Tuesday, so he's going to be kind of out of commission until Wednesday, but I will be here to answer as many questions as I possibly can. If you want anything about calculations or data, though, you're going to have to wait for him.
Yeah, because I can give you data results and things like that, and we can even go to the detail of how the individual dogs are doing in the race. So, because every single one of your dogs is actually being simulated within Excel on top of that terrain. So it is quite crazy what's all being done on here. But this is what I do. I do discrete modeling.
So anyway, I think that's about it. We don't want to make this video run too long because I know not all of you guys have 30 minutes to sit down and listen to this. So
I get an Academy Award.
Anyway, good night. We love you guys. Enjoy, and I can't wait to see you on race day.